Hello, and thank you for tuning in. My apologies for being shirtless in this one. It's damn hot outside, and I just got my antipsychotic injection, so I don't want to wear anything at all restrictive. I don't feel it. And this is going to be an update on the Madagascar model. And I researched Madagascar a little bit more. And it turns out they have a rather large criminal problem with the uh, vanilla wars because almost all of the world's vanilla extract comes from there, which means that it's highly sought after, which means mafia. So I'm going to have to actually boost the police and somewhat also the military because that was something I was completely unaware of. It's worse than the Mexican drug war, actually, in terms of fatalities. So it's pretty bad. Or was it the Colombian drug war? I'm not sure which one, but one of those Middle American drug wars. And I believe the mouse cursor is not going to show, and my laptop is incredibly hot. It's like 80 degrees minimum. I need to go here and do the cancel of display capture, and then go here, and then it works. There we go. I scanned the street opinion a little bit for what they think I'm doing with the Madagascar. Not much, but a little bit, and they kind of like it. They are very much in favor of the increased contraception use and the lowering of the family subsidies because the economic growth can't take that. Everybody's getting poorer. Most people reported that they actually feel richer, which I kind of feel is the decrease in the income tax because it went down quite substantially. So we're going to spend some of the excess improving the police budget. That's a bit hard because the police budget is pretty heavy. So we will see what we can do. Financial and economic, internal affairs. Let's see how much is this. And this because we don't even seem to have. Still cheap. So perhaps 4. These are very low numbers of police services. So perhaps this policeman per capita is at one of the lowest in the world, so this is going to be going up. I want to stop the vanilla wars. It's pretty expensive, but I'll agree to it. And then we're going to slightly increase the military because they were complaining that it was low. Let's go with this. So very expensive, so we're going to run a slight deficit. But I believe because this one is in the green that it's going to show me that the debt is being repaid back nonetheless. I want to do the lowest possible level of national service due to the school reform that I have in mind, but that's not yet. I'm almost at the end of the reforms that I'm gonna, I think, force through. But then we can do the question part where we go through the list of reforms one by one, and you guys vote on them. Uh-huh. Yes, the ministers are worried that I'm switching over to another form of government. They're like healthcare workers who worry that you're developing schizophrenia. And yes, democracy isn't in essence schizophrenia. It's multi-minded in one. I don't need martial law, evidently. I just need the emergency status to prevent the strikes. The national defense. Uh-huh. That's because it's looking at the actual number, not the objective number. So we'll have to wait for a while. Is public debt doing how? We'll see at the start of next month if it's still going down. I bought 3 small bags of weed because I want to flush the antipsychotic out of my system, and I want to feel normal, and I don't want to feel high either. So, you know, that's Poland reacting. Belarus and Poland. Somehow they knew. Inflation. Not looking at inflation. It's a very low number of public servants. Average salary is 700,000. So the 7.5 million is pretty good. Interest rate is still above inflation. Economic growth is 4%. That's pretty good. Content that the trade deficit got removed. I think I want to wait for the what is the unemployment situation like? It's going pretty well. Even with full funding of these levels of unemployment assistance, it's not nearly as effective cost-wise as reducing the corporate taxes. I don't know about the effect of removing the other taxes. That seems to be mostly to make the tax payment system common sense to people, but the corporate tax reduction seems to be the one that we're aiming for, especially if you have a policy whereby money you make in the corporation, if you invest it back into the corporation, is tax free. It is only taxed when you withdraw it from the corporation, which means that, you're allowed to grow without government interference. But when you start to get rich off of it, the government will tax. That's the Estonian model. They have pretty much that in effect. It seems to have worked well for them. So a few of these reforms are stuff that I've seen other countries do, and that seems to be well placed. I'm sorry to basically take away the right to strike, but you were fucking up the economy pretty badly in a time when I cannot allow you to fuck up the economy. We'll see. We'll do a couple of those liberalization reforms, see what the population votes like, and then we'll see about lifting these things. Let's do the liberalization wave. This is not going to pass. I knew it. These are both already at maximum. Separation of powers, complete freedom, but sects are oppressed. That's often the way. Government monitored, but this is going to pass. It is. Syndicates are already at full, but because we are at emergency powers instead of martial law, they're not gonna be able to strike. This is at full. Interested in creating new organizations, but this game's model for that doesn't actually work. Propose 1 year shorter for parliament. Oh, interesting. This is already good. 1 year shorter for head of state. Not gonna pass. I think unlimited is the way to go, but let's see if you guys support two. You do, because you don't want a lifetime president. And these are already at the liberalist end. This is, the sports is a pretty small budgetary section, so I was thinking of boosting it to maximum along with culture pretty soon. But I'm gonna have to prioritize the police. I don't think the private channels for everything is a smart idea, but it seems like the population likes it. Freedom of expression. Yeah, that's gonna be liked. It's pretty natural. These reforms might go through a little bit, but not by much. I was pretty unanimous. This is probably gonna go through. Yeah. And this is not gonna go through. It almost never goes through. There we go. And there's nothing in the terms of liberties in the research sector. We might want to hire a few more researchers though, but that's a budgetary item and not really a liberalization item. Put this to 95. Post. I could overrule that one, but I just don't feel like it. I'm gonna perhaps try it with a 5-day increase and see what happens. That one's gonna pass. I don't think there's not anything here. And these are all budgetary items. This is actually liberable, and this is may pass. Passes. Should remove the taxation on property before I do that one. This is not gonna pass, I think. I'll be surprised. Yeah, I would have been surprised. Civil union instead of no definition. That's a close one, may go through. Except in cases of rape. That's gonna go through. This is one of those things that I forced through. This I'm not even gonna try. And that one's good. Population is just info tables. And this is a budgetary items all. And then I think this one might be considered budgetary item, but let's try. Like I thought, it's not gonna go through. There's no minimum retirement pension. This is probably gonna go through. Yeah, pretty overwhelmingly. This is probably not gonna go through, though it might. Still pretty overwhelming support. This I'm not even gonna propose. No. Let's go with tolerated. This might, but I don't think so. Yeah, it's not gonna go. That's not very surprising. Smallest possible national service. That one goes through. These are the tax exemptions for private schemes, and it's gonna kind of tank the economy. There's still no immigration into the country at all. Zero. So this is not gonna go through. Oh, went through. No visas. There are no illegal immigrants in this country. So therefore no illegal immigrants. That I'm not gonna propose. Just to see if we can actually get some immigrants. Minor support. Justice. We need a Minister of Justice. Guy. Not gonna go through. Yeah. And I'm gonna do this because unemployment is going down pretty fast, and I'm not gonna propose the penalty. And total independence of justice might go through overwhelming support. There's no laws in the Secret Service, but I do believe, yeah, everybody's spying on South Africa, and police has some laws. This is going to be weak because we don't want to bother the people, and we now have a lot better funding and gear, so it doesn't need to be, if you will, manual. This I'm going to force through because you'll never believe what the most efficient model is in any day of the year. This may be to 70, and this to 30. Even 30 is a little high for city speed. It's going to be 95% plus. Oh, nice. It's going to be supported. And this one is going to go down by 1. Fuck off. It's going to cause some amount of additional stuff. That's not going to go through, but I'll allow the vote. And this is not going to go through. I'm surprised. I think I'm going to go with speed limits when pollution peaks. Supported. We're in Kyoto, and I manually pushed these 2 through. And there's no other laws here. Caused a dip in the national consumption, I think, but not an increase in national production. Once the wind turbines and such become complete, it's going to be much more efficient. Can I build a biomass? Actually, no, not enough workers. And all of these are set. And this is, this I'm going to lower by half a point. And taxation, these are all already done. I think I'm going to do small offenses to show the idea that the government is interested in the big things. Nice. This deficit means that we're going to have to increase this to 45, though. I know you oppose it, but there's nothing I can do. Those reforms are going to suck away a lot of the money that we have. Doing these changes, the VAT and the driver's license and the interest rate cost, they drop 30% in support. And because of the VAT increase, there's a general strike going on. But because we have state of emergency, it's not really going to bother us. We still need to wait for the economic data to come in. I could have actually checked if those laws went through. That's a good time to complain about government waste. That's getting the government to be fully waste-free, not to mention getting the population to be fully waste-free, is incredibly hard, to put it mildly, and may not even be possible. The justices are supporting me. Keep in mind that even the US doesn't have independent justice because High Court is appointed by the state. So we are going ahead of the US in this. Usually I get thrown out of the ICC, but we'll see. Okay, you guys want the 3-month model. That means you'll serve 3 months in either the military or the civilian service. And for the first 3 months of military service, you're not gonna get a gun. You're gonna be taught tactics, forest survival, all this stuff before you get a gun that only the military can teach appropriately, such as, resistance, being able to do crowd control well. You either do the military or you do the civilian sector. If after the 3 months you apply for more, the government may, but in my opinion is obligated to find you a job in that field if you apply for more time. If it's military, they're just gonna hire you into the military. And if it's they're gonna find you, if it's the civilian sector, they're gonna find you a civilian job. This option is called the long thin bread. Wages are poor, but once you've made your commitment to actually, stick with the government, you're gonna get a fairly you're gonna get a fairly certain situation of having the long bread. A job for life. Wages are gonna be poor, but if you're not really looking for the private sector, you can do it. Kosovo. The US went to war with somebody.
The bill has been voted. The bill has been. The referendums.
There's reciprocal treaties.
The bill has.
Okay, no more alcohol. Oh, that's really tough.
The bill has been voted. The bill has been voted. The bill has been voted.
Okay, so they like the 1 mandate period being long, but they like it to be only 2 mandate periods. Okay, I agree. How much is our That's pretty bad.
The referendum. The referendum. The referendum.
Not gonna pass.
The decree takes it. The bill has been.
Okay. I think this might be the tax exonerations for charitable donations and such. It's probably what this deficit is. Could be defense though, because that's a huge budgetary item now. What is the biggest budgetary item? Debt reinvestment and health defense make a 3 trillion dent. But none of these are really like big things. So I think what we're seeing here is the tax deductibility of charitable donations. I think that's what we're seeing here. So the value added tax needs to go way up, which is exactly what I was afraid of. But we'll see with lowering the other taxes and seeing what the population thinks. Yes, I will participate.
The bill has been.
Okay.
The referendum.
Okay, I agree.
The referendum failed. The bill has been voted.
Okay. What is the debt situation like? 26%. I think it's still going down based on the previous 2 months average, but the reality is that it's going to peak hugely. Fuck off with that price. Here is a good price. That is right.
Sure.
And here's a coffee. I know traffic is jammed. We just don't have the money. If we increase it to 70%, we're going to be able to increase some of the government things, but not by much. So when you sell something that to you sells at $1, you're going to have to be selling it at $1.7 and give 70 to the tax company. Might actually be a bit more than that, but you know, what did we nationalize? I don't think we nationalized anything. United States went to war with Venezuela while everybody's fighting Ukraine or Belarus in the east. This is how this very often ends in this game. Now I think we're gonna get the debt numbers. It's much lower than last time because it's pretty bad with the deficit. And India is joining in. So to control the deficit spending and not blow this one up like I did last time, this isn't even enough. It has to be 85. That's okay, that's enough. Sorry guys, this may kill your economy. We'll see. We'll see what this one does.
The bill has been voted up.
Demonstrations are harder to completely block, but strikes are pretty easy to block. And India went to war with Pakistan. The traditional East-West divide is unraveling. I agree completely. We'll see how much of a budget surplus we have, and it's probably not much. This number hasn't updated yet. We'll see if we can increase some of the spending by perhaps 2 units and fully fund the research, culture, and sports.
Here is our growth.
It's not as dramatic a drop as I thought it might be, but that's a pretty dramatic drop nonetheless. Though on the positive side, inflation is going to tank, so this can actually go down to 1 point. We have a slight surplus, even though we're running at a deficit because our growth rate is such that deficit is counted without the growth. So it's going to be slightly better. Norway went to war with Sweden. That's a little weird. It's a little unexpected. Not completely, though. This seems like it's turning into the NATO versus everybody else war. Belarus went to war with Israel. Trade balance didn't take as much of a hit as I thought it might from the VAT increase. Seems like the industry isn't minding that much. I think I'll decrease some of these taxation levels. What is the result of the fluffy housing. No, that's just me, but like rebuilding the houses, it doesn't affect the but does it affect rate of urbanization? No. And I don't see the number of housing actually built, so let's do crime rate is going down, and this is pretty good. It didn't cause it to drop when I changed the speed limits. It usually does, but this thing peaked with the increase in the value added tax. Slight decrease, but not by much. 1.07. So let's see what we can do. It's minor change in deficit, but not by much. Sorry, but I'm gonna decide the budget. No matter what you say. And these I'm gonna try to reduce, but it's not gonna have enough of an effect on the unemployment situation, and it's gonna cost me not as much as I thought. So that's good.
The bill has been voted.
Armenia and Georgia went to war. Belarus and Norway went to war. So the traditional conflict is popping its head up again. Sit in. Order its dispersal, but I'd rather not.
Rocking through.
See what I think of the world nations where I stand. Pretty undecided. Seems like I'm not really into getting involved at this point. We're not big enough to care. Besides, we have an active civil war going on with the vanilla war.
For the moment.
No, because they're still calm and they're not affecting the economy. Pakistan, I think, got almost the UN to vote in favor of going to war with India. Provocations you can take. Poland and Turkmenistan. United States and Venezuela, I think they went to war already, but evidently they found peace. We'll see. The UN is telling me to get involved, and they are now throwing rocks at windows and shit, so I will call the police in to investigate. Let's see if their funding and controlling this stuff is enough. It's not gonna be. But I'm not gonna send in the army before the things get really violent. That's very good. How slight is it? That was a weird dip. It's a good one. There's a slight increase actually at the end of this thing because of the VAT increase, but these numbers aren't as bad as I was expecting. Growth rate jumped up again pretty quickly. Unemployment rate is pretty high, but it's still nowhere near where it started. This one worries me the most, but it's probably because of the high population growth. Population growth is pretty high, and contraception rate is going up. So we'll probably see fertility rate decrease, but not immediately. And at this point, I will call the army. Sorry, but under the rules of being in a civil war, I consider you the enemy for killing my people. For dead. You can go home now. I know. Don't make me impose martial law. We'll see in a while. 50 guys showed up for the 3-month offer. Like I expected, it's gonna be low, especially when the economy is doing even remotely well. But some guys will show up. Family Camp Committee thinks I'm doing well. So are the Women's Association. No, I wouldn't like to distance myself from them. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think we can do step 5 without blowing up the economy. I think I'm gonna do this as well now. Why squad is morale police, and that seems off-putting. These will also be upgraded to 5 because they constantly whine about the traffic being jammed. Actually, this will be done fully because it's quite cheap for me. Okay, now I'm gonna run a deficit. There we go. And sports is cheap enough to fully subsidize. The population gets something to do. This is dirt cheap. I'm gonna do the second wave of liberalization fairly soon, but once the first one has gone through, very few of the laws will go through in the second round. Some of them will. And then I'll do a third liberalization wave where we might get 1 or 2 of the laws to go through, and then we're done. We have been in office for about a year, and Third World War broke out. Usually this little conflict of theirs stays as a match between Belarus and Poland, and sometimes perhaps Ukraine or Germany. But most of the time it doesn't evolve into an all-out, brawl. So this one I'll call Third World War. People realize that there are certain things they'd like to settle when I'm in charge. That's unfortunate. Perhaps my uncanny ability to cause people to reconsider certain things is not always good. So what is the economic situation like? Imports are climbing again. 3 might actually be a little bit high. Okay, I'm gonna do it. That's enough. And this is gonna go very cheap because you guys really need houses. You really don't need somebody taxing your housing things right now. It's really a bad idea. And all the other taxes are fine. I don't think I want to create any taxes. Perhaps a tax on large fortunes. But that seems counterintuitive to what I'm trying to accomplish here. These all went through, I think. Yeah. This wave of legalizations or liberalizations or whatever is gonna be pretty every-ish, but a lot of these aren't gonna go through. How about with time conditions without treaties against? Because at that point you should get nationality. And this one didn't go through last time, so it's not gonna go through this time. Not even gonna bother. This one didn't go through. And that was the only one in this category. This one went through. And this one is something I set manually. And this one didn't go through. I could increase the speed on motorways, but I don't think I will. A slightly faster decrease in mortality rates on the roads. It's good. This is good. This one didn't go through, so it's probably not gonna go through. Actually, I'm gonna try these all. Not gonna go through. This one is gonna go through. No, surprising. And this one really isn't gonna go through. Oh, also surprising. Okay, let's try this one. It's not gonna go through, I think. Oh. If I get more support, that one may go through. This one went through. And I think there's this one, which isn't gonna go through. Yeah, that's not gonna go through even with the support increase. And this one's gonna go here. And I'm gonna veto that one. These are all done. There's no here and there. It's going here. And this one I forced through. These are, maybe I shall do this. Nah, not while there's, it's part of the model, so it feels a little bit inaccurate. Not gonna go through, and I won't even recommend or call a vote on the euthanasia question. And this one didn't go through. And this is also an economic question, I think. These are fully funded. This one's not gonna go through. Might go through. This one's already freedom of expression. Criticism of state freedom of expression. Pretty divided. Already freedom of expression. This one isn't gonna go through. More support than I expected. And this one really isn't gonna go through. Uh-huh. And I might want to increase this to that's 30 times 43. That's about 1,200. So yeah, that's about even. Put this to 1,500 because this is one of those things that I want boost to fall. How much for top of the line research? That's not much. I guess this is going to be about 1.5% in the surplus after the recent budget estimate comes in. So how about no control? You voted for the last liberalization. Okay. Not, unsurprising. And this I tried with a 90, so let's try this with 95, so let's try this with a 90. Okay, that's probably going to go through. And we are in election season. Associations went through, and I think sects didn't go through. Yeah, everything else is fully liberalized. Not going to go through. No. That's the general public's opinion of chaos. That's their opinion of it. This one I vetoed. This one doesn't even say what it's about. This one I vetoed. And this one I vetoed. I didn't even want to ask the parliament because I'm just writing model and I'm not running this real country. If I was actually running this country, I would ask the parliament. But considering that I'm supposed to produce the artifacts of this particular model in economic detail, not perhaps societal accuracy of model, because I doubt that you're going to increase it to 80%, but, perhaps a 2 or 3% increase with a corresponding tax decrease, especially in corporate tax and low income tax and medium income tax. Earn strikes. Has the economic data come in? No, it hasn't. It's going to take a few days. Research is now top of the line while education is still measly. So if you actually do get through the government's bread into the research, expect to have the best equipment available on the planet at your disposal. The best that money can buy, as they say. We will start to boost the education and healthcare budgets, but keep in mind that they are very expensive. And life expectancy is already increasing pretty dramatically after my reforms. So it's a 7% surplus, 0.7% surplus after I reduced the taxes and increased some of the spending areas. That means the debt is still going down. May not be able to remove it completely by the end of the game, but we'll see what we can do. Credit rating has increased from B, I think, to C. This wasn't C in the beginning. No whites is C. Lowest of the guys who can actually get government loans from the private sector. I believe that is the C. So now that we are running a slight excess, I think I might want to boost the education sector a little bit. It's insanely expensive though. See what? That is too expensive. See what a 3 costs. That's still doable, but pretty damn expensive. It's very expensive, but hopefully it'll pay off. I can't increase the number of teachers yet, so maketh thou do with what you had. Maybe a little bit, because that class size is pretty insane. That's not pushing into the deficit. Still in the positive, but very barely so. It's because I voted to ask for a second referendum. Uh, this one probably voted for, which is weird. Oh, that was a surprise. This was not a surprise. This was also not a surprise, but a little bit. And this was, no way surprising. Safe is what he said. No. Yes. No. No. Let's see what the unemployment numbers are. Still pretty high. This one's going down like a rock. Oh, you like the open integration after all, and the privatization of the TV channels. And this one didn't go through even with 100% support. How about now? Still increasing. Sit-in is over. And demonstrators demobilized. That's good. End of sit-in. I will attend Christmas. So that's about it for the liberalization waves. We're gonna do one more sometime later, and that's gonna be the final one. We may get things like unlimited abortion rights and something along those lines, but that's about it. Oh, I will say that you guys should spy. Could also increase the Secret Service or intelligence budget, but nice. Not gonna happen. We need somebody who's, sitting there to improve it. Yeah. Population is expanding so fast that our education services aren't catching up. We'll see what the finance increase actually does. It's not going to be much, but we'll get some out of it. Belarus, Norway, Poland, Syria, Belarus, United States. What is the economic situation? Still slightly in the excess. So year to year, we're at about an 11% excess. It's quite high. I know, you do realize our healthcare services are equally in the same shit. At least you got some workers, healthcare didn't. Because their numbers are improving better than yours. So you get more aid. That seems about right to me. Sure. I think I could stand to go through the trade menu and cancel all the trades that are the least profitable ones. Because we've been getting a fair amount of good trade deals, and we might want to liberate the resources we're trading at a low rate to somebody else. I'm probably gonna play uh, the Nordic Challenge and Hearts of Iron next. So if you want to stick around, dear audience member and such, we are doing a little bit better, but the economic numbers are still worrying. It's a fairly good growth rate, but we could be doing a lot better. Inflation is, I think, going down. This is good, but it could be going down quicker. I should have said no to that particular uh whatchamacallit funeral.
Here are the GDP and growth figures for last year.
So it's a little bit better than what we started with. It's probably going to be a lot better once we get the debt to be paid back so we can have a little bit more of a deficit. We're not going to push it to 20%, but a little bit more. Oh, this fucking posture is hurting my arm. Sorry to curse. I think we'll reform the tax system some more because we are still getting a 10% decrease in debt in like 3 months, and that's a little bit too fast because it's just a little bit too fast. These are all good. I will drop this by one symbolic unit, and that's about it. And then I was thinking education because we are already doing pretty well in the life expectancy thing. So perhaps 4. Yeah, that's still doable. The literacy rate is still, dropping like a rock. These to 4, and then we're out of money. And then we'll see if we get debt or get debt repayment in the next 3-month cycle. We'll see. How is the population growth? Slowing down, I think. Not by much. Density is still way too high. Fertility rate is also way too high. Contraception rate is increasing nicely though. They'll eventually start to cut down on the budget surplus of 12%. That's gonna eventually start to uh, cut down on the fertility rate, but it has to be a lot higher than that. That means that more than half of our pregnancies are still completely accidental and unintended. If you have a 100% contraception rate, then all pregnancies are planned for and desired. So that's what we're aiming for. think a wave of liberalization might be in order. Almost none of these laws are going to pass. That's not going to pass. No. I think associations are now completely free, yeah. And we are in election period, yeah. Media, these are now completely at the liberal end. This one's, none of these are going to go through. But I'm voting on everything. Okay. Opposition is increasing. Yeah, opposition is increasing or balancing out. And here is no control. Oh. Duration of school vacations, 5 days. And I think it's family. Okay. And marriage rights, and I think this one is the one we can still push towards the liberal end. Okay. Not on demand, but for birth defects and rape. Combine that with a high contraceptive policy, and we got a plan. And there's nothing here. I think the only one here is the cannabis thing, which isn't gonna go through. Yeah, lack support I think seems to be declining, though it could be the support ratio that I have in the background. And none of these. 200, I've chosen the 3 thing. And this one isn't gonna go through. Yeah. And this one isn't gonna go through. It might. Oh, it goes through. And we still have no immigrants, even though there's no forbid entrance to the country. This one isn't gonna go through. Nope. And this one's already most liberal. And then there's the police branch. This one's already done. This one isn't gonna go through. Might actually. Would expect it to go through, what with the road accidents decreasing so sharply. I think we could push this to the. Not gonna bother. Not a good idea to mess with that one. Most accidents happen on either trunk or city roads, and very few happen on highways. So lowering the number of the speed of the inner cities is the most efficient way to combat that. And these are all the most liberal end, and these we already did. This is marriage. These are all budgetary questions. We've done actually from that end to that end. Not gonna go through. Oh, it is. They think we should have the cities for public transport only, I think. And that's about it. Inflation is still decreasing, though economic growth is kind of increasing. That's a little bit weird and good. We will see what that says at the next 3-month period. And the construction of the wind turbines. Oh, onshore wind is ready. Okay. Which means we can start building biomass. It's not going to be completed until the game ends, but at least we do something. And that's for all of these sectors. That's everything. Now we will watch the dreaded deficit spending.
The bill has been voted.
Okay. We didn't get anything from South Africa. And these are all strikes. Medical syndicate is striking. Probably because everybody else's budget is getting increased except them. Oh, it's the cannabis legalization initiative. There's exactly one more liberalization proposal that I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do every section. There's just one that I want to do. That's the traffic in city centers reserved for public transport. Because that's the only one that seems to be the one that might go through. Everything else has been liberalized as far as this country will go.
Will take place this week.
I don't want it. Sitting is still worsening. Provocation. And I think the energy industry in trouble is more than true. But this is not going to go through. People were interested in it. The energy sector is doing a little bit better than I thought it would be because consumption is rising pretty slowly compared to electricity production. But I may not be able to catch up to the consumption increase. We will see. I think I will build. This is insanely expensive. I will build a single one of these. And I think a single one of these. And then I will build highways. It didn't update the objective thing. Transport is jammed. There's no way we can afford a high-speed train network. Didn't pass. This was a surprise. Not gonna pass. Not gonna pass. Oh, not gonna pass. Oh, that's interesting. This is gonna be pretty bad. Oh, easier than I thought. The last time they had like 200,000 people.
The recent nationalization.
Uh-huh. The judges have 7,000 people protesting the liberalization wave. That's not surprising. This isn't gonna pass, and this isn't gonna pass. In all three, people weren't interested. Not many people voted, but the ones that voted no, which is as good as any answer. Uh, it seems the police funding is still pretty insufficient. And now we have a civil war-like situation, so impose martial law. This is because of the liberalization wave. You do realize that you voted no, it's not going to pass, calm down. That's the whole point of this exercise. You get to decide how comfortable you want to get in public, if you will. Nice. Go home so I can send the soldiers home. Then we'll keep the anti-strikes until we do the last wave of liberalization, and then we're gonna release the special thing. I hope those were rubber bullets. The World War calmed down. You can see it on the minimap here. There's no fighting going on. Yes, yes. We just calmed the situation down with the sit-in. Wait a few days. Uh, Come on. I know we both want the same thing, to send the soldiers home, but I can't lift the martial law until the situation calms down. Uh,
Good morning.
Good morning. It's a pretty bad trade. Let's try that number. No, that number. Okay then. Now it seems everything is calm. Now let's wait until February 22nd. It remains calm, the soldiers can go home. Home. There we go. It is indeed calm, the soldiers can go home. That was about 17 or so days of martial law. due to the people thinking that I'm gonna overrule their public vote, which I'm not gonna do. There are exactly two categories which I'm gonna uphold. One more vote, 5 more days of school freedom, and inner city transport only for. Now you're asking me a good one.
The happy affair is not even managed to open so many proportions as more difficult to calculate, even using case theory. Of course, you can always suggest that they resign. Otherwise, would you like us to try and stifle this important story?
No, I know it might be actually a good idea to stifle that particular story. No, I don't want to step in front of that particular landmine a second time. So let's wait until the first of third and then do the last two liberalizations. What does the economic sector look like? GDP growth rate is pretty good. What about the debt rating? Okay, that's probably still gonna work because we're not spending money on anything like construction projects. We're building like 100 kilometers of highway. That's pretty cheap for a country that has a budget of Madagascar. Uh-huh.
Good morning.
Average purchase price, you're gonna have to pay more than that. That's good.
Sure.
Okay, that seems about right. So there are two levels of liberalization. This highway construction didn't go through bugs and shit. It's environment, traffic in city centers reserved for public transport. It's gonna go through, and then school vacation days to 100. That's pretty opposed, but we'll see. We need a new economic minister. And we're going to decrease the interest rate by 0.5. It's going to increase the budget situation and economic growth a little bit. It's going to improve them a tiny bit. Okay. Okay. Fertility rate is now the same that we started with. Population growth rate is still slowly declining. Contraception rate is increasing. Child mortality rate is decreasing sharply and life expectancy is increasing sharply. This is a very good news. Still nothing to be really celebrated, but it's good news. It's doing better than I thought it would be. Wind is now a pretty sizable chunk of our energy sector. Still one onshore wind. I think our budget can handle that. Solar is gonna be, yeah, it's actually gonna be completed soon too.
field has been
This one went through, so urban centers are for public transport only. I believe you can get a taxi cab license, but I do not know if those count in the public transport system of Madagascar. What you specifically want to be considered public transport? Is it buses or do we count taxis? I don't know. Yes, we are running at a high budget deficit. We'll see. The highway building really didn't go through, which is sad. That one didn't go through, which is really sad. Damn bugs, it destroys the fun of the game. Okay. So two steps toward two steps toward liberalization in how much free time children have, but not three. That is 10 days out of 365 days. It's not much, but it'll do. We got some other reforms that this particular group might be interested in, but not many. The fact that every art relating to violence and sexuality isn't, hand sanitized by the government is a pretty good one. You don't need to appeal to the government censors for your artwork, just the companies that actually show it. We rely on them instead of the government. The much wanted American freedom of expression, I believe. First Amendment, I believe, is the one. Oh, now this is a good surplus. So we're still running at an extremely large budgetary surplus while supposedly at a deficit, but I can't be bothered to lower that more because it might really backfire. So we're gonna need something that everybody thinks is necessary. Is the illiteracy rate? No, it's even worse now. How about these? These are improving nicely. So why is the illiteracy rate so poor? I think I will go with 5 stars in education first. That seems something I can do. Then it is either police or healthcare, and it seems it might be healthcare. Police is doing pretty well. It's doing pretty well. My opinion is that we simplify the laws, make it more people friendly, understandable. But after we have done the waves of liberalization and everybody has gotten to vote on what is actually allowed, and you can leave the country, you can actually close the borders as the leader. So it's worth mentioning that you need to be able to leave the country. We go apeshit on the remaining criminals. I know I'll be called a Nazi for it, but that's my opinion. First, a referendum by everyone even involved in this. Foreigners, domestics, children, the elderly, the dogs. Once we have decided how far into the realm of liberalization or chaos we want to go, we sit our ass on the ground and turn around. But we will be going towards the liberalization end quite far. Once we have gone where we want to go, it is good to sit down and go no further. This is something your planet, Earth, really needs to learn. That once you achieve a certain level of comfort, it is more comfortable to retain that comfort than seek more. Nice. I might do the budgetary reforms, which I don't consider law reforms, like shortening the work week or decreasing the retirement age or mandating a minimum retirement pension or increasing the social solidarity allowances and such. But I do not believe those are laws, they are budgetary decisions. When it's strictly a budgetary decision, it should be the mandate of the prime minister or president and nobody else. Things like actual laws that people are allowed to do should be asked of the people. But when it comes to your bank account, you want the banker running it. Let me be assured of it.
The national
And even with this boost in the military spending, we are still way below what we need. We don't need that many commandos actually, and it's really cheap. As you can see, commandos are insanely expensive. So let's go with hiring 5,000 more professional soldiers. And we have, these are civilians who can be armed. These are guys who have learned everything relating to military but aren't considered professional soldiers. These are professional soldiers and these are elite soldiers. Keep in mind, I have one frigate and no tanks and fairly low wage for these guys, and it's 10% of the budget. Notice how big this was. Because commandos are insanely expensive. They are insanely expensive. It's like everybody having their own helicopter. Just a single future soldier system for a infantryman without uh, armored cars and such is $3 million. Whew. Sorry for taking a short break. Let's hope the military spending goes down with the reforms so I can actually direct money into things that kind of sort of matter more. I think I may want to buy like 5 tanks and a missile launcher, but we'll see. It's pretty expensive.
The recent nationalism.
Uh-huh. This is pretty good. Tempted to build one of these. Let's pop it out in the, well, actually, let's pop it out here to enforce our territorial claim towards the only distance from which somebody is probably likely to eventually ask. And now it has dual platforms as its goal. What the hell? I was so hoping I could build another offshore wind. Oil platform. Now it's good. I'm thinking offshore wind. And since the last one was on the south part of the country, this will go north. How is the budget doing? It's still pretty atrocious. That's a huge increase in spending. Absolutely mind-boggling. Could lower the monthly salary, that would be pretty harsh. This is developing along nicely. We're doing pretty well compared to other countries. We're at the lower end of the scale, perhaps lowest 20%. Though I do most like this growth rate number or this trade balance, but I really don't like this GDP per capita number. Now the growth rate is enough for the GDP per capita to grow even with the population growth, but it's still pretty low. The GDP per capita. Though based on the stuff that I heard on the street, the reduction of the income tax was actually sufficient to make people feel on average richer even with the increase in the value-added tax.
Do you wish?
Not at the moment. Probably stand to end this right about here, actually. We'll wait for the next month's data. And I think I should give away the special status or whatever. Emergency powers, I think. Yeah, that seems to be a good point to stop this in. Okay, that's a good point to stop. There we go. So I'll pause for feedback, get some thoughts on the map device, which is a godsend. It's a literal godsend. And then I'll see what I do with the remaining about 9 months. We're gonna get the budget estimate for the debt to come in pretty soon. this is with running a deficit, but these are the times when I get the 3-month period. So we'll see what it actually says. This is going a little bit better than I thought. It's much more interesting playing a dirt poor nation than a rich one, just as I expected. So I hope that was interesting. Thank you for watching.